Hello, everyone. Say anything to anybody?
Hello.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. David here with Dan. And Dan and I were talking, and Dan had an excellent point that he wanted to make. So let me turn it over to you, Dan. What is so important?
As much as the mining industry, commodity industry, whatever you want to call it, well, I guess as it relates to the metals, particularly silver and let's say copper, for example, are considered, you know, un, you know, not sexy, not glorious, sort of grungy type, legacy type
Yeah,
industries.
nobody wants them in their backyard.
Yeah, or I guess the portfolio in a lot of cases as well. The reality is that the simple thesis, guys, is this, and I really think that the tech leaders of the world need to take notice of this if they haven't already, because it's blatantly obvious to my small mind. So the Elon Musk of the world that are running EVs, that are running solar companies, SpaceX, other companies. We're about to embark on Web3, the computing industry, the semiconductor industry, and now AI, which is really ramping up. None of this is possible without basic commodities that come from Mother Earth. And the two basic ones that pop into my uh, little mind constantly are silver and copper. I mean, without those two right there, as well as, I don't know, maybe platinum or palladium or something, I don't know. But definitely without those, we have nothing. Electronics as we know it today don't exist. Your automobile, your laptops, your computers, your microwaves, nothing. Nothing. You take that stuff away, and we're out of business. So it to me, it's amazing how nobody, at least that I know of, and I haven't seen any videos talk about this, amigo, at all. I'm surprised that the Elon Musk of the world aren't talking to mining companies directly. I would, or vice versa. If I was a mining company,
I
take
think he
for
is. I
take
think he is. I think he has you know, for his batteries. I think he has talked to nickel mines.
okay, yeah,
Okay,
no, okay, maybe,
lithium.
but
You've got rare earth minerals.
there's been no definitely for the batteries and stuff. You're right. I mean, you've got the low level workers in Africa, literally by hand doing strip mining. Literally, nobody talks about that, but we don't have to get into that to then fuel the first world by the seventh world. But and I'm sure he is to an extent, but there needs to be more direct talks, and I would argue mergers between the two. So, like, if I was a mining company like I don't know, Fortuna, or take First Majestic is a great example with Keith there. I would be approaching, and I would be trying to marry myself or partnership myself up with some of these technology companies, such as Nvidias of the world, the Metas of the world, the Teslas of the world. 100%. Dan, what's the connection? Why would you do that? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
forget about relying on the Comex.
Yeah, I would go directly to these companies and have meetings and put deals together. And I'd be like, look, you need our basic raw inputs for what you do. End of story. Unless you somehow chemically design or synthetically design something else to replace it, which isn't on the horizon anytime soon that I know of, you need this stuff directly. So let's work together and set this up.
Like Apple, instead of carrying $1 billion in cash, maybe they should carry $1 billion in the raw materials they need.
100%, maybe, exactly, because cash can be trash, and we all know this by printing and inflation and stuff. Maybe a portion of that cash should be invested directly in buying mines. Well, we're not in that business. That's not sexy. That's pretty dirty. Yeah, no kidding. But again, you wouldn't have chips, transistors, motherboards, on and on and on, in the basic raw materials, capacitors, etc., that make your products, guys, without these raw inputs.
Well, also, you remember Apple when Trump was president. Trump passed some what's it called when they give you give you when they agree not to prosecute you if you.
Yeah.
And Trump, I think, said if you move your money to the U.S., you won't have to pay taxes on it or whatever it was. Remember that? And all of a sudden, all this cash came rushing back. And look at Apple. Apple has billions in China on the books that they can't bring back to the US. So why not use that cash to buy these resources? You know, buy
Yeah.
it in use.
Yeah. So if I'm the tech companies, particularly like a solar and
These
like I said,
multinational corporations have
yeah,
cash
like
in all
EV,
these other
yeah,
currencies.
yeah, like EVs and stuff. I want some sort of more guarantees to lower the risk with the supply chain and stuff. And maybe they've already done all this for all I know, but I've never
They might.
really heard of it.
Newmeyer said, you know, if you ask Samsung how much silver do they use in a year, they won't tell you.
Yeah, but where are they sourcing it from? Where are they getting it from?
Comex. They just get it off. They buy it through the exchanges.
Okay, so
And it's not probably not Samsung. It's
okay,
whoever's doing the work for them.
so what we're suggesting is, which is an XNA on the NA, we're suggesting cut out the middleman, go directly to the source.
Well, the whole thing that you were saying, and I'm not sure you even started with this, is there would be no AI, there would be no technology movement if it
100,
wasn't for the base metals, which are, I
100.
mean, everything from rare earths, but then you get into iron, you get into nickel, you get into copper, you get into aluminum, you get into gold, silver. You don't have the iron too. You don't have these metals. You don't. We would not be having this conversation
The
online.
modern economy as we know it, amigo, nothing would exist. Nothing would exist. No electronics, the internet, computing as we know it, nothing.
Well, you wouldn't have even the materials to build a house. All that copper wire,
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you'd have a basic structure made out of wood, but then what do you do for the other components? Yeah,
candles,
that's what I mean.
gas pipes,
I mean, if you think about it, if you took away,
and we didn't even talk about oil and gas. Oil and gas are the base components for running industry and
yeah,
for creating all these components.
100% in oil for plastics, even for the computer components, the cases and stuff, on and on and on it goes.
Gas too. Gas is actually used in a lot of these components,
Yeah,
not
and
just for energy
yeah,
conversion, but actually like in the chemical makeup.
yeah, physical products. In a lot of components of your automobile are all plastic that have all this fossil stuff in them. And so it just astounds me that Musk or something hasn't gone out and just literally bought maybe some of these companies.
Well, the Chinese are doing this.
There you
If
go.
if anybody has noticed, Chinese are buying up all the farmland. Has anybody heard that?
Yep.
Chinese Smithfield, the pork, the
Yep.
meat company, that
Yep.
used to be American. China bought it like 5 years ago.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, yeah. The largest, all these pigs in the United States now, these pig farms, they're Chinese farms.
To
Why do you think
fund
China's in Africa?
to fuel your economy. Why are the Chinese all over the planet, including
Why are they
South
now
America?
in Afghanistan?
Why are they now in Brazil? Brazil is
Yeah,
one of the most resource rich and
yeah,
fertile places on the planet. Iron ore, copper, gold, silver, you name it. It's
yeah.
got it all.
I was
Farmland,
telling you about that story
cattle.
where there's a new oil field going up off the coast of Brazil, out near Rio de Janeiro. And what was it? 70% of it is Brazil. The other 30% is owned by China Petroleum.
Totally. Chinese aren't stupid. What are we doing, by the way? Are we doing any of that? No,
Well,
we're selling.
Exxon has some rigs up off of Guyana.
Yeah, but what are we doing by and large as America? Oh, I forgot. We're selling our stuff to them, like the ports, the farmland, etc.
Yep.
Boy, that's a good move for some short-term cash.
But the other thing that we were talking about is since both of us are shareholders in First Majestic, and I've tried to have a conversation with Keith about this, is these are the type of things that they can be doing as a company, and they're not. They're not doing this.
Yeah.
They put out a couple tweets here and there, but they have no marketing team at all, no sales team at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not Joe Digital marketeer, but some of the things I would be doing is hiring the best digital marketing guys. Number one. Number two, the other thing I would be doing is miners, and they'll laugh at this, and I would suggest this for Neumeier, is I would be hiring. I really would, to an extent, and maybe he's got a certain amount of them. I don't think so, but I would be hiring tech guys. I would different ways to utilize technology to do things more quickly, efficiently, safely, etc. Using computing power, maybe investing in robotics to help with the mining.
Well, we know Elon Musk has a boring company.
That's a slippery slope. I get it, because you've got guys that are miners that you could say, well, Dan, now you're suggesting, AI and automating those guys and putting them out of work. Well, on one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, God bless those guys. But, who wants to be a miner? You want to be 50 years old in a mine? I mean, that is brutal friggin' work. So if you could automate that, but maybe those guys could be retooled to an extent, a good portion of them, where they're, monitoring the systems and maintaining the equipment, etc. accordingly. It's time for the mining industry, in my humble layman opinion, to modernize. And I'm not saying they haven't. I mean, my understanding is, if you take First Majestic, for example, they have been investing supposedly, and I'm not familiar with the equipment, guys. I don't have that background, but they've been buying newer equipment and stuff like that to speed up things. And
no, they've done several things. Let's not go off on that tangent.
I don't want to get deep into those. I don't want to get deep into those weeds.
But it's controlling the cost is one thing. But as we've talked about, if you're a miner, for me, the number one negative of being a miner is you don't control the price of your product.
Right.
Well, you're going to have to sell it to us for $2 a pound. What?
Yeah, but my all-in costs are 20.
Right. So you have a choice: either don't sell or sell at a loss, and that's why these miners are losing money.
Yeah, exactly. So, right, in conjunction with the basic economics and the tech, he really needs to look at. And maybe they're thinking about it, but I would be getting data analytics in there. I'd be building big ass databases, looking at things in such a way where you're doing big data mining, so that it could help you make decisions faster, quicker, and better, etc. And when I say this, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just saying that they have a huge opportunity, the miners in general, to take advantage of, if that's the right way to put it, these things. Because again, everything without these base components and metals and commodities, nothing exists as we know it in the modern economy. Nothing. I mean, you want to go back to whale oil in the late 1800s and with your lamps?
Well, if you have the product and somebody needs it, then you should be controlling what you're selling it for.
100%. So again, I'm a moron, but
instead of relying on the banks.
Right.
Well, here's the other thing: that the number one enemy to the miners is the miners, because you know what they do is they hedge themselves. They hedge themselves.
Great.
They're the ones putting the sell contract on, which basically caps the price.
Well, maybe if they didn't do that, and they took a basic course in economics and running a business, they wouldn't have to do that, and they could control the pricing better. I don't know. But
well, actually, what they do, Dan, is into a depression, and nobody's buying this stuff.
Yeah,
they're going to get $20 when the market would be buying it for $5. So that's how they lock in a price.
I mean, we know that the big banks for a long time, we don't have to name the names, have been suppressing gold.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan.
in silver prices. We know this, but I just think of First Majestic, for example, and I know I'm biased because I'm a holder, but like it's at 550 or 560. That freaking stock price should be freaking 50 easy or more.
If we're going to focus just on,
I mean, even silver. What's silver now announced? 22 something an ounce or something?
22.70.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't silver be 40, 50 bucks, $100 easy by now?
Well, out of all the commodities, I think it's the only one that has not gone to all-time highs since 1980.
Yet it is one of the most crucial commodities, as I understand it, for the not only the industrial revolution, but the digital revolution that we're currently in, /AI, /technology.
Well, copper is probably the most important metal for conduction.
Okay, fantastic. So the point is, we agree that these commodities are crucial, vital, etc. We agree that the modern day economy, as we know it, comes to a grinding halt. You can't do anything.
No, so if everybody is excited about bidding up NVIDIA and Apple and fill in the blanks, even these home builders, well, you can't do it without driving up the cost of copper and silver and iron and wood. And even, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. So in a nutshell,
it leads to inflation is what it does.
So in a nutshell, and we don't need to go on another half hour or hour, my suggestion would be between the marketing, approaching Wall Street directly, and CEOs talking directly. Like if I was Keith, for example, and look, I don't
position yourself as a technology company.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to be flashy.
100%.
I mean, I would be out there saying to Elon, hey, make me an electric mining vehicle. Who gives a crap if it works? You're going to be in the news.
Well, that's an interesting point. So if I'm somebody like Keith or whatever.
Do you think the soy boys for Tesla wouldn't jump on board with First Majestic? First Majestic started trying to partner with Tesla?
I personally would approach Elon and try to have a meeting with him. I would and say, look, I mean, we need to talk. We have what fuels the entire economy at some base level. You know that. I know that. What can we do here? And then the other part of the 2 or 3 prong approach would be what you just alluded to, Dave. I'd be hiring tech guys too in the mining. It's analogous to the tech industry where the big iron, the mainframes are still up and running in the background, and they'll still be there for the foreseeable future because they control all the most mission critical data in the world for Bank of America, et cetera. They're running on IBM, whatever, 7700s, mid-range systems, AS400s, et cetera. Okay, that big iron's not going away anytime soon. But the problem is, everybody that knows that big iron and knows those operating systems, CICS, et cetera, the black screen with the green letters guys, some of you that are 50 plus understand what I'm talking about. These guys are all 60, 70 years old, retiring. And I've heard Keith speak before, even in his industry, it's the same thing. It's at a point now, the key guys in the industry, engineers, whatever they are, they're all 60, 70 years old. They're all retiring, okay? So they're not looking and thinking about new ways to bring in technology and stuff like that. Not criticizing them if they're 62, 67, 71.
Well, if we're going to be honest about this.
They're thinking of greener pastures at this point.
Going forward, Dan, mining is going to be harder, not easier. The easy stuff has already been found. Now you see these for oil. You're seeing these deep ocean rigs.
Excellent point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The low hanging fruit.
The low hanging fruit for copper has been found. The low hanging fruit for silver and gold have been found. For iron, it's been found.
That's an excellent point. So
look
now
at the tar sands for in Canada. I mean, it's not easy.
So now the emphasis to push even harder and to get better, faster, and quicker. I don't see how you can do that without technology. So if I'm Keith, I'm looking at technology and IT more and more every day.
Well, to
Every
give
day.
him credit, he made a change with the way the roasters work, which increased the efficiency and the capture rate of silver significantly. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it went from like capturing 70% of the silver in the ore to capturing like 90%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they capture that much more. They don't have to go back through the mill and do it all over again.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy thing to find these. It's not like entering a program and having it all done.
Yeah.
Unless you
No,
have
100%.
robots.
100%. Yeah. So the technology needs to be utilized. I mean, maybe he can ask Chat GPT what to do. But yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. There needs to be a more synergy and direct line between the miners and the tech companies. To me, that's a bridge, an obvious bridge that doesn't seem to really have been forged for the most part. It has in an indirect way in terms of supply chain and the background, stuff like that. But again, in a really indirect way with probably 79 middle guys somehow in the middle with everybody margin stacking and taking their whatever ounce of flesh along the way.
Well, the reason there's so much chaos in the world is because we're going through a paradigm shift. We're going through a shift where a cultural shift, a shift in the monetary systems, everything is changing. Now you have these third world countries coming up, and they don't probably even want to work in the mines anymore. So this chaos, it's an opportunity. And so if you're going to rely on the old traditional institutional banking systems to run the world, well, we're going to a third world war, man, because that's not what the rest of the world wants. That's not what the BRICS want.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And the BRICS probably would make deals directly with Keith Neumeyer at First Majestic.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't want to get into all the other stuff. I can't disagree with you, but in a nutshell, if I'm Mr. CEO of some mining company, I'm reaching out to Wall Street directly. I'm reaching out to the tech companies directly. I'm wanting to have meetings with them, etc., and say, hey guys, what can we do here?
Well, Wall Street is using paper contracts to suppress the price of physical material.
Exactly.
They're instant. Wall Street is creating. I'm just picking a number. 100 million ounces on paper, which don't exist, and they're shorting it.
Yeah.
Against the real material.
Yeah. No, I mean, to your point, let's say there's 10 ounces of silver in the world. My basic understanding is they're creating enough paper-based silver, if you want to call it that, like 50 times over, so that, if there was, whatever, if the numerator was 2, right, 10 divided by 2, the price should be 5, but instead the numerator is, 50, right?
Well,
so it's 10 divided by 50. It's now 0.5 instead of 5. That's how much they're manipulating the price.
And if you had 50 times the shares in your pocket in paper, then you can move the price anywhere you want.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a basic mathematical, basic division problem in a way, the way I see it, manipulating the denominator. I'm sorry, I said numerator. I meant denominator, right? So, the bottom part of the fraction, whatever.
At this point, the Western banks, the New York, London banks, have proven that they're not going to let go of this peg. They're not going to let go of it.
Okay.
Until they're forced to.
Okay, so good point. So if they're not going to let go of it, then if I'm in the miner industry and I'm taking it on the chin left and right every day, I got to think out of the box, man. Maybe I go directly to these companies because the other constituencies aren't doing me a favor. If I've got all-in costs of $15, $18, $20, $22, and you want me selling
it for 22.
Yeah. My all-in costs of $22, and you want me selling shit so you can make money for 11. What anybody with an IQ of 60 or higher, Who would get into a business like
Well, the
that?
way I always phrase it, Dan.
And when I say that, I'm not criticizing the industry. I'm not criticizing anybody in particular. I'm just saying in a generic sense, right? It's frustrating, right? And if you're an investor, it's doubly frustrating.
Dan, if you had to drive to work 20 miles each way, okay, and it cost you $10 in gas each way, and you had to put an hour of your time, if that's worth anything, and there's that cost.
I do all that.
And then they're paying you $7 an hour.
Exactly. Is it worth it?
Why would you get out of bed?
Exactly. Yeah, you're paying them at that rate. You're paying them, and then if, let's say, you're a sales guy, and you're bringing revenue in for them, but you're being paid pittance.
I would even think of something like crowdfunding, where I store all my own metal, and I go to the crowd fund and I have the metal in a warehouse, and now I allocate shares of the metal. I sell it, you know.
That's fine. Again, I didn't want to get
there are ways around this rather than saying I just have to do what I'm told.
Yeah. I didn't want to get into weeds like that. I mean, you can brainstorm all day long. Just that was my thesis. Without the miners and commodities such as silver, copper, etc., the entire modern economy as we know it comes to a grinding halt, right? Taken further, without such commodities, none of the tech companies, whether it's solar, EV, AI companies, etc., including computers, networking equipment, the internet, etc., none of it could operate.
Pharmaceuticals, healthcare,
yeah,
automotive.
Yeah. That's the thesis.
Nothing.
Yeah. Real basic, guys.
We go back to, like you said, 1800s.
Yeah.
I mean, go out to rural Mexico, and that's what you'd have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they don't even have electricity.
Yeah. No electricity. You're using, if we're from New England, so you're using friggin' whale lard like they used to, the Moby Dick days. Hey, Joe, stuff this in the lamp.
Or you use like in Africa or in parts of Asia, cow dung.
Yeah, exactly.
Use that as to burn your fires.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do that? It'll create a greener earth again.
There are ways. The
liberals would be good with that.
Well, somebody like First Majestic, they have this much of material in the whole world. It's the Freeport Macarons. There are some Polish and Russian companies from China. They're huge copper miners, and the silver's a byproduct, the zinc's a byproduct, that sell these things. They used to sell their byproduct for nothing just to get rid of it. Now I read that they're now demanding fair market value for those byproducts because they're sick of getting kicked in the teeth too.
100%. And for all that mining effort to give away iron ore,
that
copper,
equipment is
nickel,
cheap. The
zinc,
equipment's not cheap.
No, it's zinc, nickel, all of that. Basic iron, the components to aluminum, whatever. You got to get paid for that, man. I'm the type of guy that believes you got to get paid for your services and your labor or whatever, man, and your products. Absolutely, and particularly to speak for the miners. I mean, that's not my background, but I have common sense. I mean, that is a tough gig. That is a tough industry, from the guys in the mines right up to the CEO and everybody in between, and the geologists. And that's, that is just not an easy gig. And when you're trying to locate stuff and then bring it up, and the equipment, and you're a half a mile in the earth, and I mean, really? And you're not going to get paid for that? And your prices aren't going to reflect it?
And to be quite honest with you, I would rather have the miners making money than the bankers, because the miners, if they decide that it's not profitable and it's not worth their time and effort, and they start mothballing mines, then there's nothing to buy.
Well, yeah, and maybe we need to be careful what we wish for, because maybe if the silver was at the price that it should be at, $50, $100, and etc. Maybe I should keep my mouth shut. Maybe we would be killing consumerism as we know it, right? I mean, maybe the Apple iPhone, instead of $1,200 or $1,500, would be $5,000. I don't know, or $3,000.
Only if all the others, the amount of silver that is used in these components is let's say you have 2 ounces of silver, Dan.
Yeah, no, it's marginal.
You have 2 ounces of silver. Right now you're paying $45, $50. Now you spend $100 on the price of a $1,500 phone. That's nothing.
Yeah, and then I think the average Tesla has something like, what was it, like 2 pounds of silver in it, something like that.
Well, supposedly it has like a couple hundred pounds of copper.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but I know it's like 2 pounds of silver. That's a lot of silver still for one vehicle. You know, and then
I haven't heard those numbers. I don't know.
I remember reading it somewhere. I thought Keith said on one of his videos 2 or 3 pounds. I forget. I mean, he knows this stuff more than I do.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't think electric vehicles are the future, so I would not bank it on that.
Okay,
the point is regardless of what technology involves,
exactly,
it involves electronics, circuit boards,
exactly.
And that requires silver and copper.
100%. Even
silver is part of the solder and the connections. Okay, and copper and silver are used to trace the path for the.
So a question I have is, you take some of the most sophisticated robotics right now and artificial intelligence, such as what's her face from Hanson Electronics there, the female android, I forget her name.
Anna, I don't know.
Whatever her name is, and then you take Boston, whatchamacallit, that makes Dynamics. the dogs there and stuff. I mean, those are all metal components and electronic components, right? Right. So you got, what do you got? All kinds of metals in there, base metals. I got to believe copper's involved in this.
Yeah, there might be titanium, platinum.
Exactly. Silver.
We didn't even talk about uranium. The uranium miners it was costing them $60 a pound to mine it, and they were selling it for $30.
So basically, we're carbon-based life forms, right? You know, comprised of flesh, whatever. We're talking about silicone-based intelligence and life forms, which are coming sooner than not, and they're going to be made out of all these materials until we get to a point where AI maybe someday might be able to synthesize a different type of material altogether that we've never even thought of chemically. But until we get to that point, all this space stuff is going to be as such.
Define AI, since we haven't done that.
Well, I think it's sort of a broad thing.
Well, what does AI mean?
Okay, so the acronym stands for artificial intelligence, but it could be something as simple as a chatbot on your average website now. When you go out to your banking website and a bot comes up and starts talking to you and says, "Hey, Dave, nice that you're here again today. How can I help you? Type in your question." And, you know, they've programmed it in such a way that they know the top 10 or 20 or 30 questions, and that thing's spitting it back to you. It could be that simple. It can get to the point where
an entire network as well as AI, right?
And then to take it a level up, you get into algorithms and stuff, which are basically more complex forms of a basic bot, right? It's more than just basic yes, no, and if thens and stuff. And then there's basically 7 levels, as I understand it right now, of AI. I can't name them, but the highest levels, 6 and 7, believe it or not, as we speak, guys, and don't take my word for it, level 7 right now can basically, and you're not going to believe this, Dave, can basically think for itself. We're there. It can basically think for itself. Pretty damn close. Is the rate of thought compared to synapse speeds at which our synapses fire, and our rate of thought, is it comparable to ours yet? I don't know that. I don't know what the speed of a synapse firing is. Somebody out there could research
we'll
that.
Discuss this another time, because I do have opinions, but we'll go off on an hour-long tangent.
I don't want to get into a tangent, but the AI is not, it may not be quite there, but it's getting damn close and or comparable. Never mind.
But the whole point is all of these things now being created and thought of all requires material.
All this stuff we're talking about. 100%.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not just 100%. In our brain anymore.
100%.
Even if we made that Star Trek transporter or food processor that converted things automatically.
Take if you want to talk about Star Trek just as a basic example, take the transporter systems, okay, that break down your molecular structure where you're at, right, and somehow are able to transmit it and beam it through the air and then put you back together. We're going to be able to do that someday, guys. That will happen, guaranteed. I don't think.
I think they can do it to a certain extent now.
So I was just going to say, I don't know if it exists quite yet, or we'll see it in our lifetime. It's going to happen.
Well, you know, they can do it with data, right?
With what?
Data.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're nothing more than data. If you look at our DNA and RNA strands, right? We're like 4 letters. What is it? A, G, I, H, and something or else, or 5 letters.
Well, we are energy, right? It's
100%.
just a reconfiguration of energy.
100%. So they can break it down, transmit it, which they're going to figure out, and then put it back together. But my point is, with that transporter, you've got to have a power source, right? That power source is going to be electrical by nature, right? It's not going to be mechanical. It's not going to be like the Eli cotton gin in 770 with mechanical parts, right? You're going to have a power source. It's going to be electrical, right? It's going to somehow break down your molecular structure, transmit it, and then put you back together precisely correctly. Because if it doesn't, there's a big problem. Oh, there's Dave. He looks like a pile of goo now.
Right.
So,
whether
yeah.
it's heat or heat, it's all conductivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're headed there. But again, I don't want to diatribe. But anyway, that's the thesis. I already said it.
But none of it is possible without the materials.
Period. And so for the miners not to reach out directly is just beyond me. I would be investing, if I were the miners, in technology as heavily as possible. I would be bringing in young, hip guys and gals that are technology savvy. Even if they don't know mining, that's okay. They can learn the basics of it. They're smart enough to learn the basics of it to get up to speed at a certain level. And then from there, utilize the technology accordingly. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah, and the one last thing I want to touch on is you know how important these materials are, because countries are already starting to say these are ours and we're not going to sell them to anybody.
100%. And I don't want to even get into the defense. You know, you rattled off healthcare, pharmaceuticals, on and on and on. I don't even want to get into the defense industry.
Hello, China, would you send me materials?
Yeah,
so
you and I make jokes about that all the time, which totally astounds me. Everything we have practically is made in China, but yet we keep punching them in the face.
Yeah.
So God forbid if we ever go to war with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Such brilliant leadership.
Yeah, I need an order of 30 M1 Abram tanks and 14 C-130s. Oh, I forgot, we're at war. You can't give us the raw materials.
Oops, who are you going to call?
Semiconductor busters. I don't know. But, we just lost Taiwan.
Oops, there goes South Korea. Oh, Mexico's in the BRICS now.
They supply about 90% of the world's semiconductors.
Hey, if we lose Taiwan, South Korea, and I'm not even saying a takeover, they just pivot, and Mexico, who's going to build anything for the United States?
You know what'll happen, bro? You and I will have to move back to New England and become friggin' fishermen off the coast of Gloucester.
That's the Gloucester fisherman.
Friggin' rowboat. Get the lobster. Where's the lobsters?
No, you'd be better off in Brazil.
Casting a line for some big grouper.
Well, this is the thing, is the one thing you see, and I'm just going to end on this note, even though it has nothing to do directly with this, but this is what happens when you allow the banks and these corporations to basically make it all about buying back their stock and about corporate, the high ups in the corporations getting their bonuses, because they're not looking out for the benefit of the country or the company. They're looking to get their bonus and get out. That's all they care about.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to get into all that, but yeah.
Well, it's tied to it.
Okay, so yes, so again, using Keith Neumeyer, First Majestic, Fortuna, whoever you want to use. If I'm those guys, I'm reaching out to the tech and AI community directly. They're going to know my name. They may not want to talk to me. They may hate my guts. They may be like, who's this guy, Dan? I don't want to talk to this moron, this legacy industry, whatever guy. And then I would politely remind them, yeah, but again, without these base components, you got nada, including no stock price.
Well, Dan, then maybe we need to dust off our suits and start being a consultant for the miners.
I think so, 100%. Because between the two of us, we have about
200 years of experience.
no, we have about 60 to 70 years of business,
Real
sales,
experience.
negotiating, marketing, operations, technology, management experience between the both of us. Okay, so we've been around the block. We've been in the trenches. We've been at the
we've been in these industries.
We've been in all these industries. We've helped bring millions of dollars, actually hundreds of millions between the two of us, and it's no exaggeration, to companies. Okay, hundreds of millions.
Yeah, and maybe these companies just don't know how to do it.
Maybe they don't, and I'm not criticizing them at all, but these are some of the things that I would be doing, 100%. I guess we just gave away a bunch of free consulting advice now.
Sorry, it's knowing it is one thing, but how to execute it, that's the hard part.
Spot on. No, I agree. I mean, execution.
These are major.
At the end of the day, is key.
Like throw a guy in an office and maybe.
I mean, without execution, the knowledge is what I call cocktail party information.
Yeah. No, it's a shift. Instead of doing this ESG crap, where they're spending billions on this stuff, they should be taking those funds and putting it into this advancement instead.
At least a good portion of it, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if I was some of these minor companies, even the juniors, I mean, the Wall Street guys and whoever, the tech guys, they'd know my name. They might hate my guts, but they'd be like, oh, him again? He's back again? This guy doesn't go away.
Well, no, you see, that isn't even how I'd phrase it. Okay. There are more tech companies out there that need what I have. And so it's going to be it's kind of like when you get two perps. Who's going to be the first one to blink? First one who blinks gets the deal.
Agreed.
So Elon, you want a deal? Step up. Samsung, you want a deal? Step up.
Yeah, I mean, you said it more eloquently. I was more colloquial.
Because the materials are going away. Right? They're going away.
Well, they're being. I guess you could argue. On a year by year, whatever, month by month, year by year, decade by decade basis, we are depleting. We continue to deplete Mother Earth. She's our mother.
It's the law of depreciating returns.
Yeah.
If it took you an hour and $10 to mine whatever, now it's taking you 10 hours and $100 to get that same material.
Absolutely.
And so that means either there's going to be less of it or the price has to go up. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. Leave your comments below. If you wanted to say anything to Meyer or to Elon Musk or to the guy at NVIDIA or any of these other people at these mines or tech companies, tell us what you would say or recommend. Appreciate it. Last word, Dan, or is that it?
No, well said.
Peace.